With so many compact crossovers today, how do you know which ones to look at? If you're looking for something a little bit more fun, maybe a little bit more sporty, the Kia SPortage might be exactly what you're looking for. Today we have the 2018 Kia SPortage SX Turbo, and it's a little bit more fun and a little bit more powerful than you might expect. Big thank you to Kia for sending this vehicle to review for you guys today. We're going to take a look at everything, the features, the exterior, interior, and go for a test drive. Let's get started. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Starting up front, Kia gives us some very polarizing styling. Some people love it, some people hate it. You know, I want to know what you think down below, but every single Kia will get LED daytime running lights standard, and then with the SX trim that we have here, we have bi-xenon headlights with dynamic bending light, and they do a really good job of lighting up the road, and you can definitely see when they actually move when you turn the wheel at night. And with our SX trim model, we get this little satin chrome surround on this grille. Grills will differ a little bit, as well as the fog light surrounds, depending on what trim level you have. Standard on the SX and optional on the EX will be automatic high beams for our headlights. And then with the fog lights, we have LEDs on the SX. You will get halogen, and you can get those optional all the way on the base model. And then down below here, Kia says that it has a front skid plate. I checked it out, and it's actually pretty plasticky, but it's kind of a cool looking piece. Our Sportage is dressed in the Hyper Red, which is actually a premium paint. I want to know what y'all think about it, so please leave your comments down below to let me know. And with the wheels, you will start with 17, 18 on the EX, and then 19 on the SX trim, and those will actually give us 245 width tires, which are some pretty wide tires. And then as you move up around the windows, you get a satin window surround on the SX trim, otherwise it's chrome on the others. Standard on the EX and the SX, but optional on the base model, are actually power folding mirrors with blinkers in them, and the mirrors actually fold and unfold when you lock and unlock the vehicle, even when you walk up to the vehicle, which is a pretty neat feature. And then on this SX trim, to make it a little bit sportier, we have a Sport Tune suspension, which it certainly does feel like a Sport Tune suspension when you are driving. Optional on the base model and standard on the rest are the roof rails up top, and we have the optional crossbars, which are a $225 option. And then as you go around back, you do get LED combination rear lights on this SX trim level, plus a bright connecting trim tail light surround on the SX trim. Every single model will get an LED high stop lamp above, and then a dual exhaust on the SX trim level. For those interested in the safety tech, standard on the EX trim level are blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert with lane change assist, and then optional on the EX, standard on the SX is auto emergency braking with pedestrian detection, lane departure warning, front and rear parking sonars. The LX model can get technology features with the technology package, but there is no radar cruise control or lane keeping assist. The Kia Sportage will give us a smart power tailgate optional on the EX trim, where you just have to walk up to it, wait a few seconds, it'll beep a few times, and then the tailgate will open, and you can turn that off or on. And once we get to the back, behind the second row, we get 30.7 cubic feet or 60.1 with all of the seats folded down. Now, one cool thing about this is that we do have a dual load floor. And first, let me show you, this does come with an optional cargo tray and cargo net, which I took out right there, but that is an option. Plus, we do have the optional tonneau cover up here, and you can actually easily move it just by pulling it out. You can put it in the other spot or this spot, but I have it there so we can recline. And the cool thing about this is that you can pull this out and then slide it back in so that it's down a little ways like that. So you got a little bit more room, taller load floor, and then kind of a little ramp going up into the back there. But underneath of here, only on the SX trim do you actually get a spare tire. Otherwise, you get a tire inflator kit, which is definitely not my favorite. Also in the back is a light, a few hooks so that you can hook things up and tie things down, but pretty good offering from Kia, even though it is small for the class. Getting us into the vehicle is this key fob right here. This is the smart key system on the EX and the SX. It is textured, but there's no remote start. So the way this smart entry works is go ahead and push that button to lock it, and you'll see the power mirror fold in, which is a pretty nice feature, so you can turn around and look to make sure that it's locked. And when you push the button again, the mirror will pop out and you can open. I do prefer the actual slide your hand behind the door to open, but it still works. The front seats of the Sportage are a pretty nice place to be. So at the base LX, you'll get cloth 6-way manual seats, but you do have the option of 10-way power heated seats. On the EX and the SX, you will get 10-way power heated seats, standard ventilated seats on the SX, which are optional on the EX. One downfall though is that the passenger seat is only 8-way power with no lumbar support. We have lumbar support over here, and these seats are pretty comfortable. They do have some decent bolstering for being, you know, the sporty offering from Kia. And even if I sit up tall at 5'9", I do have enough space. I feel pretty good where my arms are. You know, it's definitely not bad for a compact SUV. The steering wheel does have good range of motion as well, and I am a big fan of their steering wheel. I'll show you in a minute. And one fact with the LX base cloth seats is they're, yes, essentials, and they're actually like a stain repellent material. Now that we've made it inside of the Kia, we do have a pretty nice material up here, a soft material around your arm, as well as this armrest, good door handle, only one automatic window right there, and a pretty deep storage bin with a bottle holder. And my big bottle does fit really easily. One other cool feature on the SX is these chrome trimmed door handles, which actually feel pretty nice. A relatively solid door slam, and then as we move across Kia SPortage's interior, we do have soft material up there with some fake stitching running across the dash. This is still hard plastic down here and down by our knees, but we do have a pretty simple and easy layout right here. Let's go ahead and start it up. Push button, button's right back here. We do get a leather wrapped steering wheel on the EX and up, and a heated steering wheel is actually standard on our trim and optional on the EX. I do really like this steering wheel. We also do have this flat bottom right here. It's perforated on the sides and you know, fairly thick for what most steering wheels are, and I really enjoy it. It's very comfortable to hold on to. We do have simple controls on the left and the right to control our display there, display here, and voice controls. One thing I really don't like though are these little plasticky, it's just not a nice feeling for you to be, you know, touching. It's just not very nice. Our steering wheel does also have paddle shifters right over there. And then just to the left of the steering wheel, we have some basic controls for lighting, safety features, as well as opening up the trunk area. And then as we take a look at this center screen here, the gauge cluster is easy to read. The screen is also easy to read. We use the steering wheel to page through here. It's pretty simple in terms of the trip computer that we get, and that is the actual fuel economy I've been getting over a couple hundred miles, which isn't too bad considering the 20 and 23 highway MPG estimates. And then as we scroll across, of course, you can see your navigation, your safety systems, any music you have playing, some settings that you can control, and there's quite a bit that you can actually control on here as well, including that power smart tailgate back there. In order of trim level, you'll start with a 5-inch touchscreen, a 7-inch touchscreen, and then an 8-inch touchscreen that we have here. On the 7-inch touchscreen, you can get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is actually optional on the LX, but we have the big 8-inch screen right here. We do have the split screen going on. Everything is pretty responsive. It's a capacitive touch. I found it easy to use. I haven't done a whole lot of stuff in here. There's not as much configurability as I would have expected here. You can drag and drop some things kind of like you would on your phone. You can use the actual physical buttons below below the actual screen to, you know, to move through some things, and it shows you everything that you need to. The map is okay. It's not great. You can zoom, you can drag and pinch, you can, you know, just like that. So it works like that. It works fine. Our tester also has the Harman Kardon speaker system, which is a 320 watt 8-speaker system that includes a subwoofer. The Harman Kardon system sounds pretty clear, but it is lacking on bass and not quite as full as some other premium systems. We do have an actual volume knob, we have an actual tuning knob over there, plus some real physical buttons, which are always appreciated, as you can see right here. The star button is basically, you can program to, whenever you hit the star, it'll go to whatever you have set, and I have it set to go to the phone, which is a cool, quick function. The dual zone climate control does work well. One thing I do wish is that we could actually see the volume or the fan speed down here, which you cannot. You can only see that on the screen right there, and something that I would like to see a little bit different. But these buttons are well laid out, easy to use, plus our ventilated seats, heated seat controls right there, 3-tier, our heated steering wheel button right there, and then down below we have our power ports, USB aux to 12 volts, and a little storage space with a nice rubbery texture so things don't slide around. Moving back to our shifter, this is a very solid feeling shifter. We'll go ahead and put it in reverse so you can see the backup camera. And of course we have the parking sonar going on right now that I'll show you, but we do have dynamic lines, no adjustable camera there, but it gets the job done. It's a very solid shifter. We can put it down in drive, move it over to manually shift as well. Then we have drive mode. So we have 3 modes. We have Eco, we have Sport, and then we have Normal. And by default, it's going to be in Normal. We also have an electronic parking brake and brake hold button. Next to that, we have downhill brake control, plus our center differential can be locked right there for your max off-road capability, but we have less than 7 inches of ground clearance. And then parking sonar, which is available on the EX and standard on our SX trim. Then we have a little storage compartment right here. This is the same rubbery material, so things don't slide. We do have a pretty soft armrest right here with some stitching going on the side. It's about the normal width that you would expect. We have a pretty large opening here, but there's no charging ports or no lights in here, but it is fairly deep and a pretty good sized cubby. Moving over to our other cubbies, we have this glove box over here, which does not lock. It opens softly. It's plastic on the inside, but it is pretty good size. Tucked behind here, we have the auto dimming rearview mirror with home link, which is optional on the EX and standard on our trim. We do have some vanity mirrors, but you have to actually engage the light. It doesn't just turn on when you open it, and the entire visor will slide in and out. Let's go ahead and take a look at the visibility. None of the pillars are too big except that back pillar. Pretty typical for this class. Another cool thing about this interior is we do have LED lights up here in the front as well as in the back. We do have a sunglass holder that does accommodate bigger sunglasses, and then we have a panoramic sunroof like that, and look how far back that goes. That goes right back to right above where the back seat is actually, and it opens up to that crossbar right there, to this crossbar, and it's a pretty sweet thing, pretty big and pretty bright and airy. Even though the Sportage is not as long as some competitors in the class, it does still give us pretty good space. As you can see, I do have pretty good knee space. I've got good foot space as well. When I sit up tall, even with this panoramic roof, I can sit up without my head touching. I can put a couple fingers up above, so that's definitely a plus. And plus, these seats can recline way back, and this is pretty darn comfortable here. These seats are high enough up to where I feel like I have a decent amount of thigh support at 5'9". If I move to the middle, there is a hump in the middle, which is a bit obtrusive for me, but I can still sit here and be fine. Plus, we do have a center folding armrest that is soft. It has a couple small cup holders, and it does not fall all the way down to the seat, which I always appreciate. We have rear air vents. We have a USB port on the EX trim level and up, plus a 12-volt power outlet. Mat pockets on both seats, soft materials on the door except the upper part, and a cup holder. That's pretty good size. The thing that makes this Kia SPortage SX Turbo so different is that it's got the 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder, which is quite a bit more powerful than the regular 2.4-liter naturally aspirated engine they offer in the LX and in the EX. This 2-liter turbo will give you 240 horsepower and 260 pound-feet of torque, and that is paired with a 6-speed transmission. You'll lose 3 horsepower with the all-wheel drive models. Now, the big downer here when you go for this engine is, yes, you do get more power, but it is less fuel efficient than some competitors and quite a bit less fuel efficient than just the basic 4-cylinder. You will get 21 city, 26 highway front-wheel drive. And if you go with the all-wheel drive, you'll get 20 in the city and 23 on the highway, which is not good at all. If you want to be efficient, you can get the LX or the EX, which comes with a 2.4-liter 4-cylinder, which will give you 181 horsepower, 175 pound-feet of torque. Fuel efficiency will be better. In the base model, you'll get up to 30 on the highway, but if you get all-wheel drive, that will drop the LX and the EX MPGs all the way down to 25 on the highway. All right, we are on the test drive portion for this Kia Sportage, and my initial impression of this vehicle as a whole is that it's nicer than I was expecting. I have never been able to test drive a Kia before. I do have a walk around of a Sorento, but this is the first time I've really been able to spend some time with a Kia, and I'm impressed with this Sportage. It feels pretty solid for a small vehicle that it is. I definitely like the layout. It's pretty functional for the most part. The feel of this vehicle it feels pretty agile, really. That's one way to describe it. You know, it has pretty good feedback of the steering wheel. It has pretty good handling. The steering wheel feels good. It's got a good weight to it. And we're gonna go around some turns here in a little bit. The ride comfort is good. We do have a Sport Tune suspension on this, so it is a little bit harsher than probably the LX and the EX, but overall it's definitely a compliant suspension. It does get upset with some bigger stuff, but it's definitely not, it's not as bad as previous generations from the research that I've seen, and If you're looking for something a little bit softer, you're going to want to go for a different vehicle, but the plus side is the handling that you get with this is pretty good. So I just put it in sport mode, and with this 2-liter turbo, let's see what we got. So there's 60, and going from a stop, it's not the best. You really get the pull at the early and mid ranges, which is definitely where that turbo kicks in. Once it gets up high, you start to feel it kind of run out of gas. But once it downshifts, or once it shifts and then you get back into the lower RPMs, you can feel it. And just getting on it there, just a little bit, not even full throttle, you get quite a bit more out of this engine than I was expecting. Like I was saying, the steering does have a pretty good weight to it. I definitely feel more confident taking this around some corners than I would have expected. It's pretty fun to toss around for being a compact crossover. Definitely more fun than some of the top competitors like the CR-V, the Rogue, and the RAV4. I was in the Rogue and the RAV4 most recently, and this is by far more fun than both of those and much faster. One plus is that we do have slightly bigger front brakes on the SX, which is only fitting since we do have a faster vehicle. In terms of noise, Kia did a pretty good job with this vehicle. I did take some decibel readings on the interstate on a smoother road as well as on a rougher road going 55 miles per hour, and it was impressive. It really did impress me. It's pretty quiet in here. I haven't really had any rattles that I can think of, and you know, it's definitely not a harsh ride. All right, let's put it in the manual mode and test out these paddle shifters. All you got to do is slide the gear shifter over to the plus and minus. Right away, I am in 5th gear. I'm going to downshift. The downshifts are actually pretty quick, and this is a pretty quiet, it's a pretty quiet powertrain here. You know, you really don't hear a whole lot going on when you do that. Starting from first, here we go. All right. It's pretty spry. This thing will get you up and moving. The paddles, you know, they're there, and they're a little bit quicker than I was expecting, but nothing really special. So right now it's holding me at about 2.5 RPMs in 4th gear. Quick downshift, just over 3. You do get a little bit of grumble when you downshift. It can be a fun little vehicle to toss around with these paddle shifters. I'd probably only use them if I was going down a steep hill or something, but they're there if you want them, and you can even still shift with your gear selector. One annoying thing about the safety features is there's no lane keeping assist and there's no radar cruise control, and when you go out of your lane, it is really annoying until you get back in your lane. That beep is pretty annoying. So when it comes down to it, here's the deal. The base LX is pretty basic, which is a good thing. It's good to have a basic vehicle. You do get some standard features. You do get options for your safety tech. But once you get to the EX, you get some more standard features, of course, but you still have the option or the availability to option up to different stuff, which is always nice. I really like how you can do that. You don't have to get the top trim if you want maybe one specific luxury feature. So my take is that a lot of you looking for a compact crossover, there's so many choices, and they're all so different. There's the softer riding ones, like I mentioned earlier. There's the more fun ones like the Ford Escape, this one, the Mazda CX-5, even though it's slow. The Jeep, you can get the Jeep with the 2-liter turbo for more speed, but this is definitely more towards the fun type. It's still practical. You still have good space back there, even though it's not as much as some of the bigger ones, some of the other ones, but overall it's functional. It's pretty fun to drive, and I think a lot of people would be happy with this if you went with it. I want to thank all of you so much for watching. Please be sure to tune in every single week for new reviews. Click the subscribe button down below and the bell so you're notified when new reviews come out. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Leave your comments down below. I want to know what you think of this vehicle. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next time.